Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's live stream. I'm super excited to be here with you all. And Gigi can't join us today, but I am really excited because I'm going to share a story that is very near and dear to my heart and has been really the catalyst story that has brought me from, a few years ago being exhausted, burning out, making great money, but in a career that really wasn't aligned for me, and really feeling stuck there, kind of in the golden handcuffs, to now, just a few years later, running a multiple six-figure coaching business that I genuinely love. I feel like I am on path, on purpose, um, you know, living my life in service to something greater than myself. And so I'm really excited to share this story with you today. I see some of you are joining live. So please say hello as you're coming in. I'd love to know that you're here, that you can see me and hear me. We always like to check that to make sure everything's working because otherwise it just feels like we're in this little bubble here. So please say hello in the comments and let me know where you're tuning in from. So I'm really excited to share this story, like I said. And first, I want to share that, why I'm going to go through this with you today. And it's because we talk to so many people who, have a dream that they've always wanted to pursue. I mean, literally, I have this conversation with people on almost a daily basis. They have a dream they've always wanted to pursue. Maybe it's starting their own business or writing a book or whatever that might be. Hi, Monica. Welcome from Colorado. So great to see you. Yeah, everybody, as you're coming in, please say hello in the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from. So it sounds like you can hear me, Monica. That's great. So think about that. Do you have a dream um, that you've been saying that you want to do for a really long time? And what happens is maybe you take some action, but really, if you look at it, it's kind of like months go by, another year goes by, and nothing really happens, right? I hope that hasn't happened to you, but most people have that. Even I still have certain things that I want in the future. Now I know how to keep taking action toward them and really make progress, but so often we get stuck. We just put it on the back burner or we say, well, I'll get to that when. And eventually, unfortunately, for people, um, if they don't really have this pivotal shift, then eventually they give up on those dreams. And I am so passionate about that not happening for you. And so I want to share this story for you today. If you can resonate with that, if you've had a dream like that and it keeps getting pushed off, let me know in the chat. I would love to hear from you and tell me what that dream is. The more interactive this is, by the way, the better, because then I can really support you all that have tuned in here live today. So other people that I talk to think, I have a good life and I should just be grateful for what I have. I hear this all the time. And I felt that way too. I'm going to share my story in a moment, but I was making six figures and I had this amazing career in many ways that allowed me to work from home, had a lot of flexibility. And so I thought, who am I to complain, right? This is amazing. Many people would love to have this. And so who am I to want something more? And that is such a shame, I feel, because it doesn't mean that you're not grateful if you want something more. The truth is that the calls of our soul, I always say, I feel are really put there for a reason. There's a reason that that thing that you desire is calling to you, if it's a true soul calling. And so I want to talk about how you can really um, kind of break through that mentality of, oh, I should just be grateful, because what that does is it keeps us stuck. We think, oh, I shouldn't go for more, or that's ungrateful to do that. And the truth is, the world needs you to be your most alive, self-actualized self, because the more you go for what you want, the more you're going to be able to go out and make the impact in the world that you were meant to make. The more you're going to go out and change lives or touch people or, just be kinder to the people around you because you're filled up and fulfilled. So, some people, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had a dream that you were sort of scared to pursue, or you always wanted to pursue, but you feel like time just keeps going by and you haven't actually made real progress toward that dream? If so, let me know in the chat and let me know what that dream is. Or secondly, do you relate to that idea of I should just be grateful for what I have. I hear that all the time. And then a third one is that people get stuck a lot of the times because they are making good money sometimes. So people who come to us who are in a career or maybe they even have a business and they're making, maybe it's not six figures, but they're making good money. It feels secure. And they think, well, how am I supposed to make a change? Because like it's like the golden handcuffs I was talking about before. Because I've got this certain lifestyle. I'm accustomed to making money, or I like having the security, I like having the health insurance. And so it's scary to think about making a change. And I always say it would have been easier in some ways if I had started there from the beginning. Um, really stepped into what I love from the beginning because I was young, I was just out of school, and yes, I needed to make money and survive, but it was different once I started making great money. And then it was like, oh, now to try and make a change is really hard. So if you can relate to that, I want to hear from you too. I see many of you joining in here. Hello, welcome. And I would love to hear from you. I want you to type in the chat, tell me where you're tuning in from. And as I'm talking, I want you to ask questions. I want you to really make this interactive because the more you interact, the more you're going to get out of this today, and the more I can really tailor this to support you and answer your questions. So please say hello in the chat, in the comments. So I share all these because I've been there. I really have. I had a dream to become a coach really deep down. I knew that was what I wanted to do. Many of you know that my mom, Gigi, who also is in business, we're in business together and we run this group together. She's been coaching for 35 years. And so, I was exposed to it at a really young age. And I always knew deep down that it's what I wanted to do. But I was scared, even though I was raised in it. I was scared to go for the thing that I truly loved. And, I had all those stories when I had my first career in marketing, my first business, about, I should just be grateful for what I have. And then was making great money. So all of the things I just described, I can speak to them because I've been there. And so I want to share my story with you today of how I finally got the courage to make that leap because that was so challenging to do. And it took me 3 years to finally get up the courage to do it, and one failed attempt, which I'll talk about in a moment. And the reason I want to share this story is not because my story is important in any which way. It's because people learn best through stories. And so as you listen, it's not about listening to me, it's about looking to see, is there anything in here that you can relate to? Is there anything that you can relate to? And if so, just kind of make a mental note of that and then see what are the nuggets. There's something in here for you today. The fact that you are on here tells me there's a reason, something in your soul or your heart called you to be here. So I want you to really pay attention to that and listen in. And I do want to hear from you guys. I've only heard from Monica. So please say hello in the chat and let me know, what do you think brought you here today? Do you have a question? Do you have something you're struggling with? I promise I won't bite. And I would really, really love to connect with you and connect with you personally here while we're talking. Okay, so we're going to get to it in just a moment here, but what I'm going to share with you today is really great if you are in a career and you want to start your own coaching business or some other kind of business. Um, and you're tired of saying you're going to go for it or taking a little bit of action, but never really making that change. And it's great too if you have a different dream. So it doesn't have to be a business you want to start. A lot of times, people, that dream on their heart is to write a book or to travel the world or maybe even start a nonprofit. So, there's that great saying. It's kind of a sad saying, but it's a really great one of you don't want to die with your music left in you. And I really feel that to be true. It's like we never know when our time's going to come. Hopefully, we're going to live very long, happy, healthy lives, but we never know when our time is going to come. And ultimately, I'll share in my story in a moment, that is a big part of what made me make my shift was looking down the road and seeing, oh my gosh, if I don't do this and, my life goes by or I did get sick or, whatever, I didn't want to die with that dream, with that music left in me. Hi, Christine. So happy you made it today. Um, Share with me what excited you about coming on this live stream today, or what's that music in you that you want to share with the world that made you want to come and listen in today. I'd love to hear from everyone that's watching. So it's also great if you are already coaching or in business for yourself. but you sense that there's something more that you're meant to do. There's like a next level. I feel like, those of you who are on here you're probably the kind of people that you are, you're growing and evolving and always wanting to get to that next version of yourself. And I love that. That's the kind of people we attract. We call them world changers, right? You are world changers because as you grow and expand, you are going to go out and make an impact in the world. You're going to change lives if you're not already, or do it on an even bigger way. So if you aren't sure what that thing is though, or you have a sense of what it is but you don't know how to get there, then my story is going to hopefully give you some insight today as well. All right, so let's get into it. I want to hear what Monica has to say first though. I worked in administrative healthcare and kept climbing the ladder to get what I was told would be my dream job by other people's standards. I started taking certification courses and decided I wanted to pursue it instead. Awesome. So you resigned. Amazing. You made a huge shift. Oh my God. And then COVID shut everything down. Okay. And so yeah, that's a big one. There's also that thing of when you have the courage, you take the leap and then it doesn't work out the way you thought it might, or it's a lot more challenging, right? It's like we always think about the leap, but then it's like everything that happens after that. So I'll make sure to touch on that, Monica. So thank you for sharing your story. Um, and Christine said structured guidance, support, and inspiration. Awesome. So I'll get as specific as I can, but first I'm going to go a little bit broad and tell the story. So I want to rewind the clock a little bit here. And so I studied international business in university and I graduated and got out of school. And I had this idea in my head that I was going to get a stable corporate job. I was going to never have to worry about money. I summa cum laude in school. I worked really, really hard. And so I remember going on my first corporate job interview in this small office in outside of Boston, I think, and sitting under the fluorescent lights and just going, oh my gosh, I don't think I can do this. I don't think this is for me. And, I remembered, luckily, I'd had exposure to entrepreneurship at a young age and to being able to travel and live life on my own terms. And so I thought, maybe my mom had something figured out after all. I had kind of done my little rebelling and trying to go the other way, but I thought, there was something there. And I never thought I would be an entrepreneur. That was not the path that I had envisioned for myself. I'm really not a risk taker naturally. And but somehow about 6 months later, I was just going, man, I just can't find a job that seems to fit what I want. And I had been working in one job, but it didn't feel really aligned. And I'd moved out to California and I was in a position where I had to earn. I didn't have a lot of savings and I had $60,000 in student loans that I had to pay off. And so I said, well, what can I do that people seem to need, right? I knew deep down, like I said, that probably coaching or working with people in some way was what I wanted to do, but I was scared. I was scared that, some ways I had even more stories about it because my mom is an amazing coach. So I thought, well, I'm never going to be as good as she is. So how could I do this? And, you know, bless my mom, she stayed out of things very much unless we really went to her and asked for support because of course, as those of you who are coaches and have kids know, you can't go in there and coach them all the time unless they really want that or ask for that. So she stayed out of it. And what I ended up doing was starting my first business 6 months out of college. I didn't really plan on it. I had helped my mom with copy and marketing and strategy when I was young in my teens. She saw I had an aptitude for that and started kind of helping educate me in that area. And I did it all through college on and off on the side. And so that's what I ended up starting my business. And I started doing freelance marketing, copy for speakers, authors, experts, and coaches. And there's this great term that I talk about all the time, if you've ever heard me share my story, which is shadow career. And it's a term that Stephen Pressfield coined, and he wrote the book, The War of Art and Turning Pro. They're great books. And it basically means a career that is close to what you ultimately want to be doing, close enough that you can almost convince yourself you're happy in what you're doing, but it's not quite it. And that was copy and marketing for me. It was close because I was working with world changers. I was, helping people who were coaches and doing amazing work in the world spread their message in a bigger way. I wrote copy and helped with marketing funnels that made millions of dollars in revenue and touched millions of people. And so I was having an impact in some way. And so I could kind of convince myself that like I could be happy doing this for a long time. And for a little while I was because I was very blessed to build that business quickly to six figures. And, I could work from anywhere. There were a lot, I checked a lot of the boxes. There were a lot of things working in my life. And in my personal life, I was in California. I loved it. I started making great friends for the first time in my life. I was always that weird homeschooled kid before, but I started meeting people with shared values, and life kept getting better and better. And so when about 3 years into that business, it started to really feel like this isn't quite it. It's not everything, right? There's more I'm meant to be doing. I started to feel that whisper inside that was like, yeah, this is great, but you can't hang out here forever. And that's when I started to kind of have that inner dialogue and that argument with myself of, yeah, but I'm making great money. I can work from any like, my life is good, Why would I wanna make a change? Is this my ego? Like, do I think so highly of myself that I should be able to make even more money and, like, do it with something that's totally aligned with my soul's passion? I had all these, like, kind of mean stories I would tell myself about, why I should just be happy with what I had. And I'm curious for those of you tuning in, have you ever done that? Do you try to talk yourself out of it? Do you tell yourself, well, I should just be happy with what I have? Um, and I just see that Lynn, oh, we have two Monicas. Awesome. Welcome, ladies. I just finished my financial coaching training. I'm a single mom with a full-time job trying to figure out how to launch this new endeavor. Yeah, I'll definitely touch on how I made that transition because for me, my business ultimately became like my full-time job. So, it was a business, but in many ways it was kind of like a job because I actually didn't end up having to market myself that much. There was a high demand for the work that I did, and I was lucky to get a lot of great clients and referrals. And so I didn't have to have a social media presence really. I didn't have to really I had a simple website, but it didn't take that much for me to grow that business pretty quickly. There was a big need and demand for what I did. And so I always say that it's kind of like my version of the full-time job because I just showed up. Yeah, I did sales calls, but people pretty much already knew if they wanted to hire someone like me, and then they were just trying to decide if I was the right fit for them. And didn't really have to market myself, like I said. And so I showed up, I put in my hours, and I got paid, right? And so it was very much like for a lot of people, even though I had a lot more flexibility, it was just kind of this routine rote thing. Christine said, yes, fear of leaving safety, comfort zone. Yeah, that's a big one. And so, I was doing this, I was pretty happy with it, like I said, for about 3 years. And I started to have this inner dialogue of there's something more. And I tried to ignore that for a really long time. I tried to convince myself I was happy doing what I was doing. And in many ways, I was. But it was that shadow career. It was that thing that was close enough, but not really it. And so I always say that the whisper, if you don't listen to it, it becomes a roar and it starts to get louder and it keeps going and keeps going. And then for many people, unfortunately, this seems to be the way of the universe. If we don't listen to that inner voice or that higher self or whatever you want to call it, the whisper becomes a roar. And then eventually, sometimes you get hit by what I call a cosmic 2x4. I don't know where I heard that originally, but I love it. Because it's just so true. And that shows up in different ways for different people. They get into a car accident or they get sick or something shows up in their life that wakes them up and they go, oh my gosh, I have to make a change. So what I want to do is help you avoid that cosmic 2x4 if I can. And I don't know if I quite got to that point myself, but I got very close. What happened for me was I started having anxiety. I started having anxiety popping up and some health issues that I couldn't get to the bottom of. And eventually it just kept getting worse when I didn't listen. And it's not that I never tried to do anything. I started a mastermind with my mom and we led that for 3 years. We led events all over the world. So I was moving in that direction, but I didn't really make a fundamental shift. I was too scared to leave the stability of my job, of my career. And so, here I was going along, but this anxiety started to come up and just like this. And it wasn't related to not knowing what I wanted to do in my work or not knowing how to make a change. It seemed like it didn't have a source, but it just coming up and coming up and coming up. And eventually it got to the point where I was actually at one point having full blown panic attacks, sometimes on a daily basis. And so imagine I'm sitting there working, nothing's really happening. And then all of a sudden, I'm I think I'm dying, like, the world is ending. I don't know if any of you have ever had anxiety or panic attacks, but it's a horrible thing, and just terrified, my husband's talking me down, trying to, like, calm me down, but nothing can sort of calm me down. And so this started to happen with more and more frequency, more health issues started to pop up. Luckily, nothing super serious, but it was just my body, my soul were telling me something. And I, wasn't listening really, or I was trying to listen, but I was scared, all that stuff was coming up. So I'm going to fast forward to how I finally, let's get out of the painful part here, how I finally made a change. So I spent about 3 years there struggling with this, grappling with this, starting to see that what I wanted to do was coaching, getting clear about that, but being scared, not knowing how to do it. About a year before I successfully made the leap, this is my failure story. I decided, you know what, I can't take it anymore. I'm going to quit my marketing career. I'm going to become a coach and I'm just going to go for it. Still trying to do it on my own, by the way, without my mom's or anyone's support. And so I announced on social media that I was going to coach. I stopped taking on copy clients and marketing clients, and I basically waited for the clients to come in. And I got one client, and we were working together and it was fine, but I undercharged. I didn't know how to set up my packages or pricing, was barely making anything at all. And within about a month, I hadn't saved enough money. I ran out of money, and I had to go back to my marketing career. And this was devastating for me. It was like, oh my gosh, here I put myself on the line. I announced to the world I was going to coach, and then I went back. I had to go back to what I was doing before. It felt so embarrassing and just so upsetting. I just thought, well, there you go. I'm just not meant to do this. This is not, obviously I failed and it's not for me. So, thank goodness that, I had a mentor in my life, in this case, my mom. And by the way, it doesn't have, if you don't have a mom like mine, I know most people don't, and this is why I'm so passionate about the work I do. This intervention can come in through your own intervention. It can come in through talking with a coach. It can come in through many, many different ways. I've helped my clients have this kind of intervention in their lives. And because I went through it, that's why I'm so passionate about doing it for other people. So if you are in that place and you're like, well, I don't have a mom that's a coach who can walk me through this, just know that I'm going to share an opportunity with you. If you feel like you need support to get clarity or to really get that courage to take that leap, I'm going to share that with you at the end of this call. Or if you already know, if you're not going to be able to stay on the whole time, that that's something you're curious about, type clarity in the comments, and we'll reach out to you and make sure that you are taken care of, because I don't want to have anybody. I mean, I remember how hard that was to go through. Um, it was awful. I mean, my husband talks to me today about this. He was just like, "I just remember you being in pain over the fact that you knew this was something you were supposed to do, and it was just, like, gnawing at your soul, and, you didn't see how to get there or how to make that change." And so, if you have any version of that going on, if you know what you wanna do, but you don't know the steps to get there, um or you don't know what you wanna do and you're just feeling stuck, then type clarity in the comments below, and we'll make sure that we reach out to you, and I wanna support you with what you're going through. And we have an awesome free way that we do that, so it's not even a pitch or anything like that. Um, okay, so my mom stepped in. She realized I can't let this go on any longer. And we were leading the final retreat in our mastermind program that we ran for 3 years. And we had decided to end that program. We were looking at what was next. She was turning 60 that year. I was turning 30. It was a big, just kind of turning of the corner. And we went to Costa Rica to lead the retreat. And um, over the course of 2 days, we went a couple days early. Over the course of 2 days, we were talking, we were hanging out, walking on the beach. Awesome ladies. Yeah, super excited to support you. And I always say I don't know what happened in those 2 days because truly I think I have more of an idea now. But at the time, I had no idea I was being led through any kind of process. I just thought we were kind of talking, enjoying ourselves, relaxing a little bit before our retreat started. But it really was the experience of, I say, clarity dawned. I love that phrase because that's what it felt like. And I still get chills talking about it because within the course of 48 hours, I saw my life stretch out in front of me and I saw exactly what I wanted to do. And more than that, I saw that if I didn't do it, I would deeply regret it. not only would I deeply regret it, I kind of fast forwarded, or my mom probably at some point asked me this question. I don't remember how it all exactly went down. It was like in the vortex or something. But I saw that if 10 years went by and I didn't go for this, if I didn't go for being a coach, and specifically that I wanted to do it with my mom, that I would deeply, deeply regret it. She would be 70 and I would have never gone for this dream. And secondly, I saw that I would probably get very, very sick because I was having all these health issues. I was, struggling with the anxiety and all these things. My body, it was getting worse. My body was telling me, you got to make a change or this is not headed in a good direction. And so, honestly, that scared the shit out of me. Excuse my French. Um, but I was like, man, when I really saw where I would be if 10 years went by, um, I just was like, I have no choice. I have to go for this and I have to go for it now. I can't keep putting it off. I can't keep trying and failing. I have to figure this out. And I have to get support to do that because I've tried to do this on my own and it didn't work. And that opportunity I told you guys about, the when you type clarity that we're going to reach out to you about, is where we walk you through something very similar. And like I said, it's a free experience. It's a breakthrough session. I'll tell you more about it at the end of this live stream, but um, it is where we're going to take you, and it's going to bring some stuff up for many of you. People cry on these sessions all the time. I hate to say it. I don't want to scare you off, but stuff comes up. They really look, and um, it is but it's so important because otherwise we skirt over these things and we tell ourselves it's not that big a deal. It's not that big a deal. And then years go by and it doesn't happen. And we end up in that place that if we had looked and really looked and made a different choice, we wouldn't have had to end up there. And so this is my mission, ladies. I want to say you guys, but I think it's mostly ladies on right now. This is my mission, is to support people to not do that, to not have that 10 years go by or 5 years or whatever that is, to not get sick because they didn't go for their dream. And it really feels that important to me. It feels like life or death. So through this experience she walked me through, I finally saw, and by the way, it didn't come through thinking about it. I had spent 3 years thinking about it, trying to figure it out, making the plan. People always say, oh, yeah, I have the plan. I'm going to do it when XYZ. I'm going to save the money. I'm going to quit my job, whatever. And so often it doesn't actually work out that way, right? They quit their job or they save the money and they go and they try to do it and nothing changes, or they try and they fail like I did. And so the next piece I'll talk about is the support and how you really want to make sure you have that support and that the plan to make it happen. But first, it's that you can't think your way. There's that quote, we talk about it all the time, Einstein, something along the lines of, you can't solve a problem from the same level of thinking that created it. And so the same thing is true here. I kept trying to figure it out, and I even worked with coaches, and they were also coming from this problem solving place, and I see that a lot with coaching. And so we couldn't see the solution. It was always like looking for the answer. But the way that my mom coaches, the aliveness method that she's trained me in now, and that we coach and that we certify people in, it comes from a very different place. We take you out of your mind first and into the world of desire and into the world of energy to see what is the vision, where do you want to go, that really lights you up and brings you alive, and or what is it that you don't want, that when we go down that path of 10 years from now or whatever, there's different ways we can get there, that it really makes you ready to make that change. And so that is how we work with people, and it's very, very different. Now once you see, and that's what happened for me, is I saw, oh my gosh, I have to go for this is life or death. Felt that way anyway. Then I said, okay, I'm going to go, I'm going to make this change, I'm going to finally go for it. So, what made the difference though? Why was I able to go for it successfully? And now, several years later, have a multiple six-figure coaching business doing the work I love. And let me just paint the picture for you real quick so that you have an idea of how things have changed. And I stopped having anxiety within, I would say it took about 6 to 8 months. In the beginning, there was still a lot going on. I was like running two businesses, starting the new one. I had a lot of fears. So it's not that it was an overnight. I don't like to say this is not like a, okay, you're going to get that clarity and your life is going to change overnight. Sometimes it might. I don't want to say it's not possible, but there is a path, there's a transition, there's a path to get there. So be good to yourself. It takes time. but you want to make sure you are actually taking the steps and you're not just sort of spinning your wheels and not getting anywhere. So, what made the difference though that I was able to, oh, no, I was on where I am now. So, anxiety cleared up, no more panic attacks. And what else? Feeling fully on purpose. I think that's one of the biggest shifts that happened is like before I always had that nagging feeling deep down. Now, when I tune in and I tune into my intuition or I pray or whatever your process, you might have your own. But for me, meditation, prayer, when I tune in deep down, I know I'm on path. I know I'm doing the work I'm supposed to be doing. Now, there's often like the next level comes to me of like, oh, there's this next piece, or I want to, there's this little tweak, but it's not this like, oh my gosh, I'm out of alignment and I don't have that pain anymore. Health issues, a lot of them cleared up on their own. I have more energy and vitality. I don't feel burned out anymore and exhausted. And I felt that way so much of the time in my previous career. I'm truly in my function. I'm doing the things that light me up and bring me alive. And I'm changing lives in a much bigger way directly. Before I was indirectly helping other people change lives. Now I'm out there and I'm actually changing lives myself. And there's nothing more fulfilling than working with our clients and seeing their lives change and having them reach out to us and say, "Oh my gosh, thank you." And it's not even about me, that sounds egoic. It's just I feel like I'm living in service to people. So that's where I am now. Multiple six-figure business, team, we're growing. I love what I do. So what made the difference that I was able to get here? Because you guys want the plan, right? And the plan is partially first you need that clarity, you need that breakthrough experience, and we're going to reach out to you, those of you who commented. So definitely keep an eye on your messages, and if you haven't friend requested me, do that so you make sure you see it when I do reach out to you. Um, so the difference was having the right support and the plan to get there. And I say the right support because people often say to me, "Well, I have a lot of support in my life." And I say, "That's awesome, to have supportive family and friends and people who are loving. That's amazing. If you have that, that's huge." But what I'm talking about here is different. And this can come in different forms. For me, it came in the form of a mentor and coach, my mom. I've also had other coaches that I've hired over the years. I don't want you to think it's just her. But again, her style of coaching, the style that we do with the aliveness method, really is different. And I always go to that first because it helps me get that really clear picture and that vision that's actually aligned for me. And then I go to other coaches sometimes to learn other strategies or things like that, but it's a very different thing. First, we want to get that vision, that aliveness, that alignment, and then we can go to strategy. Then we can go to action steps. But the truth is that without that support, without someone there who specifically was there guiding me, talking to me when things came up, because I will tell you things come up all the time, especially in the beginning. So much fear, so much self doubt, not knowing what the next action step was to take, feeling like I took two steps forward and one step back. Not knowing how to make the transition also because it wasn't an overnight thing. Again, I had to transition out of my copy and marketing and into a new career. So I had to know, how do I structure that with my clients? Or if you have a job, we help people do this who have jobs as well. Okay, how can you set this up in such a way? We always say, don't just go quit your job. People think, oh, I touched on this earlier. Oh, I'm just gonna save up all this money, quit my job, and then start something. And so often that doesn't actually work out because they quit and they're like, well, now what? Right. And so I really recommend for most people, and everyone has a different path. So if you've done that, no worries that you can still be successful, but you want to make sure your bases are covered. And so there's a way to transition so you're not in fear and you're not in scarcity. And then that way you can be in your magnetism because if you're coaching or, you know, doing something where you're working with people, especially starting some kind of business in that arena, or you have a business in that arena, in order to grow, you need to be magnetic. Your magnetism is what's going to create that attraction. And then you also need to know the action steps to take. So, through that coaching and through that mentorship, that's how I was ultimately able to make the shift because I had all the fears and self doubts. Like I said, my previous career, I didn't really have to market myself. I had to learn sales. I had to learn marketing. I mean, I knew some marketing, but I had to learn another kind of marketing, kind of the grassroots things. I was working with people with multi-million dollar businesses, so I didn't know how to do it from startup, right? I had to learn so much trial and error and oh my gosh, and how to work with clients and what to do when a client felt like they weren't getting value, or how to set healthy boundaries with clients. So many of these things that oh my gosh, would have been I could have probably figured some no, actually, for me, I'll speak for me. Some people could figure it out. Some people would go for it anyway. I wouldn't have done it. I would have gone back to my previous career. There's zero chance that I would be doing what I'm doing now if not for that support and guidance. And so that's the other piece I always say, is that the clarity is the first step, and we want to help you guys get that clarity. And that's what that session I'll tell you about in just a moment here is designed to help you do. But the clarity is only the first piece, because sometimes people go, okay, I got the clarity, I know what I'm going to do. And then they go out and they start to try to do it, and then their patterns come up. We all have patterns, by the way. So think about for yourself when you're going for something, you're excited about it, and then something stops you. What is that that stops you? There's probably a pattern that shows up again and again for you. Is it self-doubt? Is it comparing yourself to other people? Is it confusion, not knowing the steps to take? Is it overwhelm? That was mine. I would get so bogged down doing so many things and I would get overwhelmed. We all have patterns. I'm not going to go through the whole list right now. We talk about that in our program, and we teach a process, the pattern interrupt process, to actually help you walk yourself through this. Um, but the other thing is, a coach can help you do that as well. And so, um, I'm losing my train of thought here. So oh yeah, when those patterns showed up, and when my fears showed up, to have someone there that I could go to and talk to and be able to work through those. Oh my gosh, it shortened the process. That's the only reason I'm doing what I'm doing today. Because for me personally, I would have gotten too scared. I would have, the golden handcuffs would have lured me back to my previous career. And look, it took time. It took about 8 months before I was able to fully transition and completely go out of my marketing business. And it took me a while to get to where we are now, right? To the multiple six-figure level and continuing to grow. And so, once you have that clarity, having the right kind of support and, mentorship guidance and a plan and a path, but the plan and the path is going to evolve. That's the other thing, is people always think I'm going to figure it all out in my mind. I'm going to build a beautiful website. People pour so much money into the wrong things in the beginning. I see this all the time, is that people think they need the laundry list. They think they need the perfect photos and the website and the, online marketing funnels and all the things. And the truth is, in the beginning, you can get, and this is a very important point. I'm glad it's coming up in my little rant here. You can get to six figures, even multiple six figures, without a large social media following, without any fancy marketing, and without a fancy website. I have done it twice. Okay. So I've done it twice and I've helped other people do it. You do not need the laundry list. You don't. What you need is clarity. You need a plan. You need support. And then you need to be in action, not thinking about taking action. You need to be in action and not worrying about whether it's the perfect thing, because the perfect thing comes through trying things. You can't You've probably heard me say this if you've been on any of our lives. You can't learn to ride a bicycle and get anywhere, right? You want to go somewhere on your bicycle. Let's say you don't know how to ride a bike. You could read a lot of books about riding a bike. You could think a lot about riding a bike. You could buy a really fancy bike. You could do all those things. Does that get you any closer to actually learning to ride that bicycle and actually getting to where you want to go? No. Now, if you get on that bike and you start pedaling and you fall a little bit and you pedal some more and you fall probably again, but what's going to happen if you stick with that? You're going to see, oh, when I do this, that works. And when I do this, that doesn't work. So I'm going to adjust in this way. And then next thing you know, a little ways down the road, you're going to go, oh my gosh, I'm riding the bike. And not only that, I'm getting to where I want to go. But again, it didn't come through thinking about it. It didn't come through having the perfect plan and the perfect everything. So I've been rambling here for a while. I want to wrap it up soon. But those are the really key pieces: getting the clarity, having someone walk you through, because it's hard to do on our own. And I always say this, it's a myth that we're meant to figure it out on our own. I want to bust that myth because I think it's baloney. Um, Frankly, that we've instilled this idea that, oh, you should be able to figure it out on your own. We look around and think, well, they did it. Yeah, but you don't know. Those people, the Olympic athletes, they don't go to the Olympics without ever hiring a coach, right? They don't go and just figure it out on their own. Yeah, maybe up to a point they do, but then they have to get support. They need to know the nutrition, they need to know all the different pieces, and they're not ashamed about that. So, get support, get the right kind of support. And community can be huge for this too, by the way. This is why I love running our group programs because the support doesn't just come from us. It comes from the other women, the other men, people in our programs, because you get to see behind the scenes of what it actually takes for people, like what they're actually going through in their lives, what's coming up for them in business as they're looking to get clarity or see their next steps, the ups and downs that people go through. And we create really powerful communities in the sense that we don't create them. We are blessed to attract amazing people, and those people, we do is set up a container and very clear guidelines so that you are all empowering each other. And that it's really a place where you build each other up. We don't allow gossip. We don't allow, any kind of pulling each other down, nothing like that. It is all about seeing how can you be in service to each other as you're going and building your dreams. So I talked a lot today. I want to know if you have any questions because I'm going to wrap up here in a few minutes. So please, please, if you have any questions about what I shared, has it landed for you? Do you see yourself in my story? Often people see themselves in different pieces. So I'd love, love, love to hear from you. We'll definitely be reaching out to you ladies who said clarity below. Now, if you're watching and you don't know why they said clarity, or you missed that part of the live, I just want to share that real quick with you. So we have an experience that we created. We call it a clarity call. And this was really designed out of that experience that I had in Costa Rica that I shared with you, where I was taken out of my mind, and really got into see, you know, what did I want, first of all, which is always what we do with people. What's your desire? Not what do you want from your mind, but what actually lights you up and brings you alive. You can see the physiological shifts in people when they talk about something. And I can now hear it in people's voices, and my mom too, because we've done this work for a long time. When you light up, we know we're on path to something. So that's one piece. But the other piece is what's holding you back, or where would you be if you didn't go for this? What are those patterns or those things that are getting in the way? Because if we don't address those, then you'll stay stuck. They're patterns, they're habits, and that's the way we go. If I hadn't addressed those things and gotten support to do that, then I would never have made that shift, like I said. So we have this breakthrough experience. It's called a clarity call. It's usually 75 to 90 minutes, sometimes as long as 2 hours. And so people, will one of our coaches, myself or one of our coaches, will walk you through this experience to really dig in and see what is it you want? What's your next level, your next step, not just like the strategy or the goals, but really what is that desire? And then what's getting in your way so that you can actually see a plan and a path to break through it. So you walk away feeling clear on your next steps. Now, if at the end of that call you see, oh my gosh, I really want the support to do this, to take action on this, what I've seen today, because that's so important, like I've shared, is to get the right kind of support. Then we'll ask you, are you curious about our programs? Are you curious about getting support? And if you say yes, we'll share a little bit about what we do. So I'm totally transparent about that. This is it's a breakthrough session first. And then if you are curious, then we will absolutely tell you about what we do, and share how you can work with us if that's something you are curious about. If you're not, then we'll let you go on your way and you have that breakthrough experience. You have the clarity and everything that came through it. And we wish you all the best. And you are always welcome to, come ask questions in this group or be on the live streams, or maybe come work with us in the future. But if you have that feeling, it's the beginning of a year. This is such a beautiful time. So if you have that feeling right now, if you tune in, maybe even like close your eyes, and we'll like lead you all, those of you who are left here, and through a short, um, just moment of meditation. So if you close your eyes and you tune into your heart, and you just take a couple of deep breaths into your heart. Just notice how you're feeling, anything that's coming up. I've shared a lot today. And see if you can tune down even deeper into your your intuition, your soul, that little whisper, whatever you want to call it, that knowing. It shows up different for everybody. And ask yourself the question, what am I longing for? What am I longing for? Just notice whatever comes up. What is my soul calling me to do? What am I being called to? If you have that deep down, you're meant for more, what is that? Do you see anything there? Do you feel anything? Maybe just the edges of something. Could be as simple as, to help people. And then where do you envision yourself a year from now? The end of this year, look at how much happened in 2020. In some ways, not very much, but in another way, the whole world changed, right? It was a big year, so a lot can happen in a year. The world will be in a very different place this time next year. So, where do you want to be? Where do you want to be? How do you want to feel? Is there anything I shared today that you're longing for? Maybe feeling on path and on purpose. Tune in and ask yourself from your heart and soul, not your mind, where do I want to be a year from now? And if no answers come, that's okay. This is a 2-minute version, right? We're going to take you through a very different experience on these breakthrough sessions, but we want to help you really dig in. And I want you to come from this different place. If you open your eyes, you probably feel a little different. The world looks a little different than it did when you shut your eyes. So, what I want to share with you is to listen to those whispers. If you do nothing else, if you don't ever have a clarity call with us, if whatever, I don't care. This is our mission. We empower and inspire world changers. And you, because you're here and you have taken this time, you are a world changer. And so listen to those whispers because they are on your heart and soul for a reason. And there's something you are meant to do. If I hadn't listened and if I hadn't gotten the support to break through and get to where I am today, all of our clients, all of the people we work with, and the lives that we've been able to change and touch, they wouldn't have had that, right? They would, it, I mean, truly, it's kind of shocking for me to think about in this moment, but I'm just thinking about one of our clients in particular. Her whole world has changed in the last year. She's making 5 times the income she was making a year ago or more. I don't know. She just told me she had a $20,000 or more than a $20,000 month. She's in her dream apartment. She's running her dream business. She's so happy. And when I met her, she was in a job she hated, barely making, enough, hated her apartment. Just, I mean, that would not have happened if I had stayed where I stayed, if I had listened to those voices that said, um, you know, you should just be happy with where you are. And, who do you think you are? And all the other things that those voices said. So, if you are curious about a clarity session, I would love, love, love to offer that to you. Type clarity in the box below in the comments if you haven't already. But either way, tune in, dig deep, listen to the whispers. You have something you are meant to do in the world. I firmly believe that. And, if you don't go for it, you are robbing the world of the opportunity to, you're robbing people out there who need your magic, who need your medicine, and that special gift that you have to share. So let this be the moment, let this be the year that, really catalyzes you to move forward. So we are here for you. If you ever have any questions, please reach out. Please comment in the group, post, share what you're up to, private message me. We'd love, love, love to be in service to you. Okay, lots of love. Um, Happy New Year, and we'll talk to you next week, same time.